watching KITV Island Television.
Hawaii's first news. From the KITV4 News Team, Lynn Waters and Tim Tyndall with today's top stories. And Rick Kwan has Big Board Sports. Now, KITV4 News. News 4 at 10.
Good evening, I'm Dick Allgaier.
And I'm Tina Shelton.
Confessed mass murderer Jeffrey Dahmer appears in court to be charged with the mutilation killings in Milwaukee.
From KITV, this is News 4 at 10 with Dick Allgaier and Tina Shelton.
Good evening. The court appearance was just one of several developments in the Milwaukee case today.
Next on Hawaii's #1 News at 5.
Police bring 2 men into district court this morning to answer sexual assault charges in cases downtown and at Thomas Square.
Live, News 4 at 5 with Gary Sprinkle and Pamela Young.
Good evening. We begin tonight with
Next on Hawaii's News.
One of the state's largest insurance companies is getting out of the business and says Hurricane Iniki is to blame.
Live, News 4 at 10 with Dan Cook and Paula Akana.
Good evening and thanks very much for joining us for News 4 on this Thursday night.
Next, it's News 4 at 5.
You have any comment?
No comment. A mother pleads guilty in connection with the death of her 3-year-old mentally retarded son.
Live from KITV4, your 24-hour news source. Hawaii's #1 News at 5 with Gary Sprinkle and Pamela Young.
Good evening and thanks for inviting us in.
Next, it's News 4, Weekend Edition.
Jeremy Harris and Arnold Morgado go head-to-head in a mayoral conversation on KITV.
Live from KITV4, your 24-hour news source. It's Dick Allgaier and Jody Leon.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Dick has the night off.
You're watching Island Television KITV4, Hawaii's #1 News at 5. Now get the whole story. This is KITV4 News at 5.
Watch out, buddy!
Residents near San Diego join firefighters in a desperate fight to save homes and property. Good evening. Thanks for having us in. More than 1,000 homes have been destroyed in Southern California.
Get the whole story. This is KITV4 News at 5 with Pamela Young, Gary Sprinkle, Kathy Muneno Weather, and Robert Kekaula Sports. You're watching Island Television KITV4. Now get the whole story. This is KITV4 News at 6.
Good evening. Paula has the night off.
You're watching KITV4 Island Television. This is your Island Television News at 10.
Good evening. Honolulu police sweep downtown Chinatown in a massive drug bust operation.
You're watching KITV4 Island Television News at 10 with Paula Akana, Sean Ching, Island Weather with Justin Fujioka, and Island Sports with Robert Kekaula. This is your Island Television News at 10.
You're watching KITV4 Island Television. This is your Island Television News this morning. You're watching Hawaii's #1 newscast at 5. KITV4 Island Television News at 5.
Good evening and thanks for having us in.
You're watching KITV4 Island Television News at 5 with Pamela Young, Gary Sprinkle, Island Weather with Justin Fujioka, and Island Sports with Robert Kekaula. This is your Island Television News at 5. You're watching KITV4 Island Television. This is your Island Television News at 6.
Good evening. Thanks for having us in.
You're watching KITV4 Island Television. This is your Island Television News at 10.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Sean has the night off.
You're watching KITV4 Island Television News at 10 with Paula Akana, Sean Ching, Island Weather with Justin Fujioka, and Island Sports with Robert Kekala. This is your Island Television News at 10.
Hello and welcome to KITV4 News Online. I'm Dan Meisenzahl. A troubling new report today shows
KITV4 News at 10 starts now.
Good evening. A community celebrated the life of an 11-year-old boy.
KITV4 News at 5 starts now.
No contest pleas in court today to 153 counts of animal cruelty charges involving what prosecutors say was a puppy mill in Waimanalo. Good evening, I'm Laura Yamada, in for Paula Akana.
This is KITV4 News at 6.
A British man hoping to become the first swimmer to cross 7 open ocean channels.
KITV4 News at 10, Hawaii's only 1-hour late newscast.
Breaking news out of Moiliili tonight.
You're watching Paula Akana, Laura Yamada, meteorologist Justin Fujioka, and sports with Robert Kekala. This is KITV4 News at 10. You're watching KITV4 More Local Morning News with Ann Sterling, Laura Yamada, Mike Cherry, and traffic with Lake Honolulu. Now, KITV4 More Local Morning News continues.
On the football field, he's a quarterback's worst nightmare right here off the football field.
KITV4 More Local Morning News continues.
Welcome back.
KITV4 More Local News at 5 starts now.
Time is running out for a local boy who's used to doing his battling on the field. Good evening, I'm Paula Akana.
And I'm Yanji Denise.
You're watching KITV4 More Local News at 5 with Paula Akana, Yanji Denise, and weather with Milani Kayala Navarro. Now, KITV4 More Local News at 5 continues.
No new talks.
KITV4 More Local News at 5 starts now.
A family of 8 chased from their Waipahu home by a fire. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Paula Akana. Fire investigators.
KITV4 More Local News at 10 starts now.
Delays to the Friday night lights, frustrating students and parents. Good evening, I'm Kenny Choi.
And I'm Yanji Denise.
Good morning, Hawaii. You're watching KITV Island News.
Lower level, a state senator pushing for a reduction of the blood alcohol limits for Hawaii drivers. Why he says it just makes sense.
Right now it's 6, almost 3 years after going missing. Justice for Charlie Scott.
You're watching KITV Island News at 6.
We, the jury in this case, find as follows.
You're watching Good Morning Hawaii with Maleka McDonald, Lindsay Fukano, and up-to-the-minute weather and traffic with Lake Ho'olokula.
This ruling makes us look weak.
Right now at 6, storm mayhem, while parts of Oahu clean up from a weekend pummeling. Others are still getting slammed.
You're watching KITV Island News with Robert Kekala, Paula Akana, weather with Pete Casiano, and sports with Brandy Higa.
Putting the wind in the windward side of Oahu, it is whipping around right now. Good evening, I'm Paula Akana.
I hope you're all having a pleasant evening. I'm Robert Kekala.
You're watching KITV Island News with Robert Kekala, Paula Akana, Weather with Pete Casiano, and sports with Brandy Higa.
Remembering Roland Casimiro.
You're watching Island News at 5.
Good evening. I'm Moanike Ala Navarro. Paula Akana and Mike Cherry are on assignment.
On Island News at 6 tonight.
You're watching Island News at 6 with Robert K. Cowler, Paula Akana, Weather with Pete Casiano, and Sports with Brandy Higa.
The exact cause of the deadly inferno that engulfed Marco Polo, the high-rise, on Friday has not yet been determined, and will be at least several more days before it is. Good evening, I'm Robert K. Cowler. Paula Akana has a night off.
On Island News at 6 tonight, a federal investigation into Hawaii's false missile alert.
You're watching Island News at 6 with Robert K. Cowler, Paula Akana, Weather with Pete Casiano, and Sports with Brandy Higa.
Late this afternoon, the city issued a notice of violation to the owners of a Kalihi apartment building where 2 men were injured yesterday after a second-story balcony gave way. Good evening, I'm Robert K. Cowler.
And I'm Paula Akana.
You're watching Island News at 10.
This is Good Morning Hawaii with Maleka McDonald, Lindsay Ficano, Jordan Segundo, Deja Worley, Mika Miyashima, and Mackenzie Stasko. Good Morning Hawaii.
It's 5 o'clock coming up on Good Morning Hawaii.
This is Island News Midday, Hawaii's only midday newscast with Lindsay Ficano and Deja Worley.
Well, aloha. Welcome to Island News Midday. We do have the very latest and newly released video.
Coming up on KITV4 Island News, the city passes 2 bills aimed at keeping homeless off of Oahu sidewalks.
You're watching Island News at 5 with Brenton Owa, Moani Keala Navarro, and meteorologist Pete Casiano.
The Honolulu City Council today passing 2 bills aimed at keeping Oahu's sidewalks clear. Good evening, I'm Brenton Owa.
And I'm Moanike Ala Navarro. On KITV4 Island News at 6 tonight, inspired to speak out.
You're watching Island News at 6 with Paula Akana, Robert K. Cowler, Brandy Higa, and meteorologist Pete Casiano.
Right now, warning signs posted along Alamoana Beach and the beaches in Waikiki.
Now, from KITV4 Island News, this is Good Morning Hawaii.
It's 5 o'clock on Good Morning Hawaii. A community alert for Kaneohe.
This is KITV4 Island News Midday.
Welcome back to Hawaii's only midday newscast, the latest financial news.
You're watching KITV4 Island News.
Welcome back. The National Council on Aging says more seniors are turning to medical marijuana.
Now, from Honolulu, for all of Hawaii, this is KITV4 Island News.
Roads closed, power outages reported, and homes flooded after downpours hit Oahu, Kauai, and parts of Maui. Good evening, I'm Brenton Owa. Thank you for joining us.
Now, from Honolulu, for all of Hawaii, this is KITV4 Island News.
Developing tonight at 10, police across the state investigating 2 suspicious deaths.
KITV4 Island Television.